Have you ever ended a long day with tired eyes, a heavy mind, and the frustration of feeling unfulfilled, then wondered why, despite all your effort, your life still felt as though it wasn't moving forward? You set your goals. You attended every meeting and seminar. You chased every opportunity. Yet at the end of it all, nothing truly important had changed. What if the thing you call hard work is not building your future, but quietly stealing it? But because every time your attention is pulled in another direction, a small piece of your life goes with it. The greatest thief of success is rarely laziness. It is believing that doing many things at once means you are moving forward. Today's story is about how a young man named Daniel discovered that achieving more is not about doing more, but the opposite. Daniel was 25 years old. Full of ambition. Determined to build a successful life. He lived beside the quiet coast of Porto, Portugal, where colorful houses climbed gentle hills and waves greeted the old stone harbor every morning. Just a year after graduating from college, he worked as a secretary in a respected law firm during the day and as the assistant chief security officer at a local hotel at night. People admired Daniel. His schedule was always full. His calendar rarely had an empty space. Yet every evening, he returned home feeling strangely empty, as though another day had disappeared without bringing him any closer to the life he wanted. He believed success belonged to the busiest person. He had no idea that this belief was slowly draining his soul. Before this story ends, you will learn one simple principle that may completely change the way you approach your work. Now, let us begin. Every morning, while fishing boats floated peacefully on the still water and seagulls drifted across the pink morning sky, Daniel hurried toward the train station to catch the first train to work. Everything around him seemed peaceful. Only his mind refused to join that peace. During meetings, he thought about unfinished reports. While working on reports, he answered calls. Before lunch, he replied to emails. During lunch, he planned meetings. At 4 o'clock, the office closed, and Daniel rushed to the station again to begin his second job at the hotel. When he finally arrived home, he spent only a few hours with his family before preparing for another exhausting day. He often whispered to himself, "If I can just keep this pace, everything will eventually fall into place." Weeks became months. Projects multiplied. Opportunities increased. But so did the exhaustion. He simply divided himself into smaller and smaller pieces until nothing inside him felt whole anymore. One morning at exactly 9 o'clock, Daniel and his colleagues received a reminder. Their promotion interview would begin in 1 hour. The interview had been announced weeks earlier. Daniel knew about it. He had simply kept postponing his preparation. Panicked, Daniel rushed home to collect his documents before racing back to the office. By the time he arrived, the interviews had already begun. He was called into the room. As the interview started, his thoughts suddenly froze. The words disappeared. Silence filled the room. For several painful seconds, he could not answer a question he normally would have answered with ease. Not because he lacked knowledge, but because his mind had already been exhausted by too many unfinished responsibilities. Just before the interview ended, one interviewer leaned forward and gently asked, "Mr. Daniel, were you informed about this interview?" Daniel quietly nodded. "Yes." The interviewer asked another question. "And did you prepare for it?" Daniel opened his mouth. But no words came out. For the first time, he realized that working hard and preparing well were not always the same thing. That evening, Daniel didn't rush to the train station as usual. Instead, he slowly walked to the station and sat quietly on a wooden bench, staring at the railway tracks. Just then his boss appeared before him. Stared at him for a while and gently said, "Daniel, I have noticed that you are a hard-working man, but don't know how to reap the fruit of your labor. I have a secret to share with you. If you really want to know this secret, meet me at the cafe tomorrow," pointing at a cafe shop, "by 2 p.m. Then he said, "Good night," and went away. That night, Daniel hardly slept. The interview. The silence. The questions. They echoed through his thoughts again and again. He kept wondering what secret his boss wanted to share with him. The next day, Daniel arrived at the small cafe beside the train station nearly 30 minutes early. A few minutes later, his boss arrived carrying a small leather bag. He smiled warmly as he sat opposite Daniel. "I'm glad you came." Then he asked, "Do you know why I invited you here?" Daniel slowly shook his head. His boss smiled. "Because yesterday, I didn't see a man who lacked ability. I saw a man who had spent all his strength before the battle even began." Daniel lowered his eyes. "I've worked harder than everyone I know. I have multiple jobs. I hardly sleep. I say yes whenever people need me. So why does it feel like everyone else is moving ahead while I'm standing still?" His boss remained silent for a moment. Then he slowly opened the leather bag. Inside was a small magnifying glass. Daniel frowned. "What does that have to do with my promotion?" Without answering, his boss picked up a dry paper napkin from a nearby table and walked outside into the afternoon sunlight. Daniel followed. The boss held the magnifying glass above the paper. At first, nothing happened. He adjusted it slightly. After a while, a tiny circle of light appeared. Within seconds, a thin line of smoke rose from the paper. Daniel's eyes widened. The boss gently blew out the flame before it spread. "Daniel, the sun has always had enough power to start a fire. The fire appeared only when the light stopped trying to shine everywhere at once." He paused. "Now tell me, was the problem the sunlight? Or where it was directed?" Daniel looked at the magnifying glass. For the first time, he understood. The boss continued. "Your life is exactly like this. You have enough intelligence. You have enough discipline. You even work harder than most people. But your attention is scattered. So your strength never stays in one place long enough to produce extraordinary results." They returned to their seats. The boss reached into his bag again and removed a blank sheet of paper. In the center, he wrote 3 bold words. "The one thing." He slid the paper towards Daniel. "Every morning, before you touch your phone. Before you answer messages. Before you say yes to anyone. Ask yourself one question. What is the one thing that, if completed today, would make everything else easier or less important? When you find that answer, protect it. Finish it. Everything else can wait." Then he leaned back and smiled. Busy people fill their calendars. Focused people change their lives. He pointed at the paper one last time. "Remember this, Daniel. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that could change your life." The next morning, nothing felt different. His phone still rang before sunrise. The old Daniel would have said yes to everything. This time, he paused. He looked at the paper his boss had given him. At the top, in bold handwriting, were the words. "The one thing." He quietly declined the extra shift. He ignored the emails. He switched off every notification. For the first time in years, he gave one important task his complete attention. It felt uncomfortable. His hands kept reaching for his phone. But every evening he asked himself one question. What was my one thing today? Little by little, the noise inside his mind began to fade. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. People stopped praising him for being busy. They began respecting him for delivering excellent results. Then another promotion opportunity arrived. But this time, Daniel had prepared long before the interview date. Every answer came with calm confidence. When he walked out, he already knew. This time was different. A week later, the entire office gathered for the announcement. Daniel stood quietly at the back. He expected nothing. Then the manager read the final name. Daniel. For a brief moment, he simply stood there. Not because he was surprised by the promotion, but because he finally understood why he had earned it. Not because he had become more hardworking, but because he had finally learned where hard work belongs. My friend. This is the lesson. Success is rarely limited by effort. More often, it is limited by divided attention. Tonight, before you sleep, take a sheet of paper. At the top, write these 3 words. The one thing. Then answer one question. What is the one task that deserves the best of me tomorrow? Write only one answer. Tomorrow morning. Begin there. Not because everything else is unimportant, but because focused attention turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. And never forget. The sun doesn't create fire by shining everywhere. It creates fire when all its light meets at one point. Your life works exactly the same way. If this story spoke to you, take a moment to like this video, subscribe for more motivational stories, and comment below.